Welcome to the Bold Empathy Project podcast. I'm Brian Walden Pope, creator of the Bold Empathy Framework. Seeking feedback is a good thing. From market research to gaining insights from coworkers or leaders in our workplace to taking to heart the suggestions of family members and others who care about us, we have many opportunities to receive and use feedback from others. Unfortunately, though, too often these opportunities are wasted. Today I'm going to share a few thoughts on how to make feedback more effective as we seek out and receive it from others. Feedback often leaves huge opportunities missed because the way we seek and receive feedback is prepackaged and at best is taken just one level deep. We typically ask preset questions, then we make conclusive observations, which are really just assumptions based on the filter or filters that we put on the feedback. Some places that we do this are customer service with our employees when we ask questions about what they want and get their feedback in the business, when we do market research in family situations. Again, these things happen all the time everywhere, and we all know we've done it. Think about it for a moment. You ask a question and you've kind of tainted that, you've painted a picture, or you've stilted it in a way that you're looking for certain feedback. Well, we do this even when we don't mean to. Often when we're trying to do good market research or we're trying to get good feedback from anybody, an individual, a loved one, it doesn't matter who it is, and we still end up having the problem of painting it in a way or stilting it in a way, couching it in a way that we end up getting inaccurate information. And then the worst thing we do is we take that feedback and we take it at face value according to what we're thinking, and we put our filter on it, and we come to our conclusions based on that one thing. Well, there's an easy way to overcome this, and I'm going to share just a few steps with you here to get you started in doing this. First thing we want to do is create a culture of empathetic communication. This is true in our families, in our workplaces, in civic service arenas where we serve, any of these types of things. We want to be able to create a culture of empathetic communication, a place where people, as you've heard me say before, I'm sure, step into other people's worlds and stay there. And we operate from within their paradigms. To make it work even better, if everyone involved understands VIVA, our values, experiences, vision, and actions that mold us, that lead us to where we're at, that have us looking forward with our vision and looking at the actions we're able and willing to take to make those things happen, it's going to happen even better. But for the purposes of what I'm going to talk about here today, you don't need to worry about that. We're just going to get to the tip of the iceberg here, and we're going to talk about some of the things you can do right now to get better feedback. First of all, we want to listen for keywords and phrases as people are talking. And then when we hear those, we drill down. So we ask a question, we get a response. We listen for those keywords, those key phrases, those key ideas, and we ask more questions about that. So we're talking to a child, we're talking to our teenager, and we say, help me understand what's going on. Why does this keep happening? Does that sound like something you've maybe said as a parent? And the teenager gives a response. Well, instead of putting our filters on that and being reactive, we listen and we drill down. The teenager might say to that question, well, I just don't understand why this keeps happening. Now, as a parent, it's so easy to say, well, if you just fill in the blank with whatever you might say there. But if we don't do that and we say, tell me why you think this keeps happening. Is this something that's common? Do you feel like it's ongoing? And they say, yeah, it seems like every time I turn around, I'm wrong. I'm always doing something wrong. Our question back. Now, are you saying that you think you're doing something wrong, or do you think other people feel like you're doing something wrong? Their response, it's other people. Other people always seem to be telling me I'm doing things wrong. Your response, let's talk about some examples of that. Let's see where that happens. And we keep going on that, and now we're being listened to as that teenager, and we want to continue that conversation, and we start giving information and input that's going to give feedback to that parent, and that parent might find out that they haven't been as communicative as they thought they had. Maybe that teenager finds out that the parent has some legitimate concerns that they didn't really realize were legitimate concerns for good reasons, because we had this clash previously. This is the type of thing we're talking about. This is where good feedback comes from. Now, with our audiences, again, this works with our prospects, getting feedback on how they feel about our products and services and that type of thing. Clients who have used our products and services, giving feedback there. Team members in any situation, business or otherwise, families or teams, any kind of team. We take the opportunity there to drill down, to listen for those keywords and phrases and drill down as we're getting feedback. These people feel instantly validated. They want to talk further. They want to give us more information, and we can keep going and get great information from them. I had a situation happen. This is with a long time client working on this Bold Empathy project. I asked a question. This was recently. I asked a question and just sat and listened, and then drilled down and got additional feedback. And in a few short minutes, this client who understands me, who understands my business and my approach and the things I'm working to accomplish, gave me 2 or 3 really good pieces of feedback that simply wouldn't have come out if I was defensive, or if I felt I had already figured things out, if I was just running things past him to have him put his stamp of approval on them and validate them and say, yep, Brian, you're smart, here you go. When we really listen, when we're really open, wanting to hear what other people truly think, and we drill down on that, we get good, usable feedback. We have better engagement. We come to better conclusions. We have better information on which to base decisions. Now, with all of that said, I want to give you just a couple of steps here to get started on getting better, more meaningful feedback. First of all, the principle. You've heard it before. Hopefully, if you haven't and this is new to you, there's more information on this in some other podcasts and other places. But it's one of the core principles of the Bold Empathy framework, and that is to step into other people's worlds and stay there. Don't go in and try to understand them to the point you feel you understand them and then yank them out of your world, or out of their world, into yours, but stay there and operate in their world. And as you're doing that, do these 2 steps. Share that principle with your team and talk to the team about how you can do this as you have conversations between yourselves, with prospects, with clients, and so forth. And then secondly, ask a question instead of making a statement or becoming defensive. This is just the very beginning of this, the tip of the iceberg. But if you will put those 2 things in your head, I'm going to step into other people's worlds. I'm going to try to have conversations in their paradigm, not yank them into my world, not make it about me, but make it about them. And I'm going to ask a question instead of making a statement. And then as we hear from them, we drill down and go another level. This is all with the overarching umbrella on it of looking for feedback that can be meaningful in accomplishing what we're wanting to accomplish. That's just one of many applications of Bold Empathy, of course. If you want to take this to the next step, go to boldempathy.com and you can find training there. And if you'll use the code PODCAST, you can get the introductory training for free. And it will tell you much more about what I've talked about today and many more things. Also, if you like what you've heard today, will you consider rating and reviewing this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts? We really appreciate it. This helps others more readily find the podcast and aids us greatly in meeting our goal of flooding the world with these worthwhile messages, and I thank you for that. Now finally, a point to ponder. When we seek feedback by formulating pre-packaged questions, we have usually already put a slant on what we're wanting to hear back. So ask open-ended questions without an agenda, beyond, of course, the agenda of discovering what others truly think. Pick out key concepts from what people say and then keep drilling down. Get to the core of what the party is really trying to convey. Remember, it's not their job to give good feedback. It's your job to discover it. A few meaningful feedback conversations can sometimes tell us much more than a large sample of canned questions that push respondents into a set of possible feedback options.
Thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, discover more at boldempathy.com. And remember to follow us on your favorite social media platforms.